Hi everyone, thank you for watching our presentation. Today we'll be talking about HuskyTHON's activation sprint and review and the fundraising that we do in our last 2 weeks of the year. My name is Nora Casey and I'm the Vice President of Internal Relations.
And I am Emily Mandeville, and I am the Vice President of External Relations. So today we'll be going through a agenda of our total last 2 weeks and how we used each of these tasks to fully optimize our last 2 weeks. So we're going to start with going over how we set the tone with not only just our internal group, but also our external group. And then our last push day before our main event night of, and that is Day of Strength. And we'll also go over how we maximize the last 5 days before, and that's what we call check-in week. And then we'll also shortly touch on our in-event fundraising at night of. So here's just a brief graph to kind of showcase and generalize the increase that we have during these last 2 weeks. So as you can see, we have a big spike in those last few months leading up to our main event, and this is from February 23rd to March 8th, and March 8th was our event day. And there you can see that we raised 49.46% of our total fundraising this year. So when it comes to setting the tone, our last 2 weeks of fundraising really make or breaks the total that we reveal at night of, meaning that there's a lot of preparation between our internal and external communities, and that's a big key to our success. So with doing this, we have our all internal meetings. We also go over and do a PAW Appreciation Week and also highlight all of our participants on social media to really get them excited for our main event.
Yeah, so diving a little bit deeper into how we set the tone for these 2 weeks, starting with that all internal meeting is a meeting for literally anyone who has a position within HuskyThon, including our management team, our morale captains, our dancer representatives, our team captains, our other captains, and our rising leaders, which is that first year leadership program we have. And at this meeting, we just give information about the upcoming 2 weeks. We go over, day of strength, check-in week, night of. We give some cause connection, we bring it back to the reason we do it. And we also just, bring up the hype, get everyone excited, and give them resources to be, great for the next 2 weeks. In terms of social media, we are very active in the last 2 weeks. There's pretty much a post that goes up every day. There's some samples over on the right side of the slide. Toolkits for fundraising, different uh, information about check-in week, where to go, what to do, how to get your stuff, that type of thing. Just any resource that, our external participants who, aren't getting this information directly from a director, they can go to our social media and figure out everything they need to. And also learn about our incentives and that type of thing. It's also our comm team does a great job with the colors and making it, nice to look at. Participant Appreciation Week, which Emily had just touched on, is the week before our final 2 weeks, where we appreciate our participants, as you might imagine. We have snacks for them. So each day, our director of hospitality gets a cookie, brownie, something like that. They get a handwritten card from our management team. They also get a little bracelet and a sticker with their participant type on it, just to make them feel, appreciated by us and to get them, rested and recovered before the final 2 week sprint. And then just meetings in general, all of our internal meetings, whether it be captains, our morale team, those team captains, they're giving that all those people, they're giving them the information they need to be set up for success. They know exactly what's going to be expected of them in the last 2 weeks, exactly how they're going to accomplish that. So just all around, everyone is ready for the last push. So now getting into Day of Strength, as Emily said, it's our last push day before our main event. This year we challenged our participants to raise $375,000 in 24 hours. So getting into the day, we have our headquarters, which is right in our student union on campus, which is a lot of fun. It's a welcoming environment, place for people to come in and, just all things HuskyThon are happening there. We have our merchandise, incentives, there's a photo corner, there's a dare wheel, we have cookies, live leaderboards, and then QR codes and with toolkits and check-ins. So like everyone is getting literally anything they could need right in there. In terms of incentives, everyone who raised $144 that day was entered to win free Muya for a year. The top 10 fundraisers of the day were allowed to hold up the numbers at our live reveal that night, which we'll touch on later. And then different like milestones such as $300, $500, and $900 in the day could get different things like a free t-shirt, fanny pack, or some Connecticut children's swag. We also did have a car smash outside, which was super fun. Right in the middle of campus, people coming by could pay and, smash a car, which is awesome. And then lastly, we had a nice visit from Brian, who is a patient at Connecticut Children's. He stopped by. Our hospital relations team was highlighting that day for our college connection, and we got, real life glimpse of that, which was awesome. And then this year, we did our first ever day of strength after dark. So after our headquarters were closed, they closed at 4. We brought back our participants back to the student union from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. to, keep everyone engaged for the last push of the day. Here we had live music. We had on-campus band called Tweed Sugar come in and play. We had a battle of the DJs. Our director of hospitality also got free food. So, everyone loves free food to get people in the door. And as I said earlier, we had that final reveal at midnight with the top 10 funders of the day, which is a great way to, you know, highlight them and give them shout outs for their great job during the day. We also just did some internal awards there, senior recognition. There was a basketball game going on, so we had a watch party for that up on the live on the projector. We had a Dan Hurley lookalike contest and creative fundraiser awards. So in terms of activating our participants during Day of Strength, our main focus was on external outreach, getting those people involved who aren't, I mean, we obviously also had internal outreach, but external outreach was huge, getting everyone to fundraise. For external outreach, it's based on what we did on past push days and also on the time of the day. In the morning, we're doing widespread outreach, getting to, everyone we can. But as the day goes on, if someone hasn't fundraised at all at 8 p.m., we're not texting them because if they haven't fundraised yet, we're going to focus more on people who have fundraised a little bit but just need that little push. We also use donor drive tracking and data for pretty much all of this to make sure that we're doing it as effectively as possible. As I said, we start with those unactivated participants, then move to activated participants, pushing them to the next milestone, next incentive, and then also stewarding our participants who have gone above and beyond. For internal outreach, as it says, directors are responsible for their own captains or team members. Our communications team puts together a text plan for our management team, so it makes it really easy to, text them. There's a sample right down there. And then we also, obviously, as I said before, with just overall, our social media was very active the entire day with leaderboards, posts in the morning. We had a whole video put together to kind of hype everyone up for the day and just keeping everyone in the know about what's going on. And the last thing we do is power hours. We had a few hours of matching up to, $15, $20. If you like enter to win, if you raise $30, you were entered to win a like tickets to our local adventure park. And yeah, down the bottom, you can see our activation rate. So internal activation was at 71.86%, and our external activation rate was 33.24%. So obviously, always room to improve, but it was, really good stuff that came from this year. And here's the effect. So from our Day of Strength in 2023 to Day of Strength in 2024, our increase was only by 1.2%. But then adding on our Day of Strength After Dark segment and really just amping up the energy in all areas, we were able to increase over 20.9% from last year on Day of Strength. So it just shows how the work pays off.
So now getting into our check-in week, which is our, like I said, the last 5 days before our main event. So just to set up the timeline for you, Day of Strength is normally midweek, the week before check-in week. So everyone is still kind of on that high of emotions on how great we did with our fundraising. So we get right into check-in week from there. And to start, our effect from check-in week. So 11.4% of our total fundraising this year was raised during our check-in week, and this is all because of the preparation we put into it, the mindset we have, and how we lay out the room to maximize this fundraising for it. So in terms of preparation, the first and probably one of the most important is our social media, and that's our biggest form of outreach. So we use all forms, Instagram, we use Facebook, we use TikTok, every form to make sure that we're reaching out to as many people as possible. And we have our daily posts, which have our countdown to night of and showing and highlighting what we are focusing on that day and what room we'll be in and the time so that everybody knows exactly what's going on and then know that they can just look at the Instagram and have all the information that they need. We also include things like hype reels to get everybody excited and remind them what we have looking forward to over in the next weekend and reminders for things like night of. So we'll post a packing list and things like that and all the activities that we're going to have. We also have initiatives and incentives for the participants so that we can get them to check in sooner and continue to fundraising. Because the sooner we can get students and participants to come in and check in, then we can make sure that they're continuing to fundraise all the way leading up to night of. So some of these incentives included a Cancun trip, and this was for every $250 you raised during this week, you got one enter to win, and every additional $50 is another entry. We also had a Yukon plaque, and so if you were able to check in on Monday, the first day, then this was an enter to win, and you also were entered to win the Yukon plaque. And then there we had 3 tickets for an adventure park. And so if you hit your minimum during check-in week, you were entered to win for this. And so these incentives, which are separate than our normal, just regular fundraising incentives, really increase people to come in earlier and get the ball rolling on our check-in week. And then in terms of attitude, we know that this is our most important week. It has been for a few years now. And so when we are talking to our internal team and also at that on our social media and at our all internal team meetings, we make sure to really set the tone and make sure that everybody understands how important this is for us. And we encourage our internal team to tell their friends, people who aren't may not be involved in our morale captains or any other dancer representatives, things like that. So we really just focus on spreading the word completely. And then we, of course, have outreach. And so we organize this through participants and based on their participant type and how far away they are from reaching both their minimum or any of our incentives like our comma club or the headband miracle hero. And so we focus on that. So now getting into how we specifically use our outreach. So I have a sample text over to the right, and this is something one thing we focused on a lot this year was our stewardship and focusing not just on getting our participants to raise their amount, but also recognizing when they do reach that amount and making sure that they know that we are also keeping track of that and we're also highlighting the strengths and the goals that they have already reached. And in terms of also highlighting that, we also make sure to remind them that the Comma Club is $1,000 and reminding them how close they are to encourage them to keep fundraising. And so our main goal with our outreach is to keep it personalized. For example, when we have our dancer representatives who may need a little push for their fundraising, we make sure that our directors of our dancer representatives are focused on outreaching to them because they'll recognize that name and take it more personalized. And so that's super important for us. And we also be sure to provide resources that fit each dancer's fundraising level and making sure to analyze which ones are actively fundraising and which ones maybe aren't fundraising and we should focus on other participants. And now for our power hour. So we had one power hour during check-in week, and the main goal for this is to give that extra push to those people who may only be $10 or $15 away from reaching that incentive or reaching that fundraising minimum. And a power hour is something that when people see on the Instagram, it's not something that we warn people about. It's a surprise post. And so this adds the excitement to it and gets more people to want to get that power hour match just so that they can hit that minimum, whatever they're looking to reach. And so how we do this is we have our outreach, which is focused on participants who haven't reached their minimum or haven't been fundraising all day. We focus on reaching out to them first because this might be that one extra push to get them to hit that. And then with our internal team, we make sure that they're also reaching out to their friends who they might know need that extra push. And we also encourage our internal team to repost our Instagram posts so that, again, it spreads the words even farther. And now, in terms of the layout of the room, so this year we did something a little bit different than we had in years prior to really focus on the fundraising initiative of the whole week. And so First, participants would walk in and see the check-in table. So I included a little graphic here on how it was set up. And here was just the baseline where we had members of our management team checking people in, asking for their names, and this is where they would receive their miracle band, which allows them to get into the event. And then they would be directed from there where to go based on their fundraising. And so if participants had raised their minimum for their participant type, they were sent over to the t-shirts table to receive their t-shirt, and they were also given their food band to so that they would be able to have the free food that we offer at night of. And if participants had not reached their minimum, then they were immediately sent to the back table, which was the fundraising tips. And so our main goal with this fundraising table was to encourage participants to reach their minimum and highlight the food ban incentive because this is something that people may not recognize at first that if they don't reach that minimum, they won't get that food band. And so we really focused on that. And we also introduced different fundraising ideas and had handout cards to give out to participants so that they could take them. And these were also super easy things that we knew could be done in a week, like setting up a a Facebook fundraiser, or reaching out to family members and friends, and all those quick and fun Instagram fundraisers that a lot of participants will do. And we also made sure to highlight how much they already have raised. We didn't want to focus on saying you've only raised this much. Instead, you say you've already raised this much. And so switching that form of language was super important for us with that. And then also at the incentives and shirt pickup. So again, here when they picked up their shirts, we would make sure again to ask for their name because then those people working at the t-shirt table would either send them over to the incentive table where they could get their Comma Club shirt, or we had a water bottle for raising $1,800, or and also so that they could see the fanny packs for people who have raised $500. And if they had not raised those incentives, the people were be sure to let them know you're only this far away from that incentive. And again, just making sure that people are always in the know of what they can get with each fundraising minimum. And lastly, we had our cause connection table. So as always, we always have cause connection at every single one of our events. And this is really to just to showcase the miracle children and the miracle families who are going to be at night of and remind them that these are the kids that they are supporting with their fundraising, and also encourage people participants who may not be totally in the aware of who exactly we are supporting. And so putting a face to the name of all of our miracle families was super important to also stick that why and remember why we're doing it all.
All right, and all of that leads up to night of, which is our 18-hour dance marathon. And we have a couple in-event fundraising pieces to this. Our first one is 10K in 10 minutes, where we have a live tracker up on the screen, so all of our participants can see. And we challenge everyone in the room. We usually do it right after a morale dance. You know, it's crowded. We have a lot of people in there. We sit everyone down. We say, all right, we're going to raise $10,000 in the next 10 minutes. We challenge everyone to raise $20. And once they raise that amount, they can stand up, and it's just a really like high energy. We have people coming up giving tips and fundraising, and so that's our first one. Our second one is the light ceremony, where we have a moment to like connect back to our cause and our support for childhood illness. And our executive director asks for everyone in the room to send $5 to someone who inspires them, which is just a really touching moment to kind of, bring us back to our cause, is, it is the most important part. And really connect our community that way. And then our last one is what we call our final ask, which happens right about 10:30, just an hour and a half before that final total is revealed. And two of our vice presidents go up on stage and ask everyone in the room to just do everything they can to imagine that total they want to see during the reveal, and to do, one more thing to make it happen. Yeah, that's about it.
So thank you so much for listening. We are so happy to be able to share this information and help all of you kind of maximize those last 2 weeks the same as we do, because we know how important it is and we know how thrilling it is to finally see that number reveal at the end of the night, knowing that you put in so much work. So if you have any other questions, we have our emails and our phone numbers here. We're always happy to answer any questions and help everyone maximize all of our efforts. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.